So, Frederic, over to you.
Thank you very much, Janice. So I would also say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Frederic Fremont. I am the manager for the medical technical department in my hospital, and in that matter, part of my responsibility is in the pharmacy and sterilization organization. So my hospital, Robert Ballinger Hospital, is your middle-sized hospital. We are serving a population of about 400,000 persons. We are located in the northern suburbs of Paris with young population, lot of immigrants. We have about 650 beds, 450 in acute care with the 3 big specialties, medical, chirurgical, and a maternity of about 2,300 births a year. 50 beds in physical medicine and rehabilitation. We are going to open more beds up to 95, and 170 psychiatry beds. We are also responsible for the outpatient clinic and pharmacy inside Villepin Detention Center, which there is about 900 inmates, so it's quite a big activity. And we are also responsible for Roissy-Charles de Gaulle Airport. And if you ever happen to have a slight health problem coming in Paris through that airport, you will be taken care in our hospital. So I'll first show you an overview of our instrument and implant traceability project, and afterwards we will focus on really instrument traceability. Here you have all the logistic, would say, flows covered in a hospital, and the part which is our project, going from the reception area throughout, all patient care and to the sterilization. We have some of projects which are finished, some are still ongoing, and now what was our full goal for all that project is a full traceability of all health products. What is peculiar in France, that the pharmacists are personally liable for drugs and for sterile medical devices, which is quite different from other countries. So that's why they are very implicated in that area. One of the biggest challenge we had was managing all those projects. You see with the dates, they run through from 2010 to now, and we have too few resources, but all the providers know it's the same thing for all of us. And mostly it was the people which really were needed for those projects, which were the pharmacists and the IT specialists. Our first issue in traceability of surgical instruments was that due into the French legislation, due to the Creutzfeldt-Jakob risk. The last 5 patients on which the instruments had been used must be known. That applies to hospital-owned or to loaned instruments, and the legislation is, still increasing, and now they are very, very strongly recommending that all the instruments are marked at the single level. Our second business issue which arose afterwards was that we contracted for taking the sterilization of another hospital near here. They were closing their sterilization because they had to expand their emergency department. And it was a big challenge because they are about the same size as us and same activity, but different surgical procedures. And going a bit further, once you go in the operating room, you have the instruments on one side, and the other side you have also sterile medical device, which are the implants and also high-value devices. Traceability is mandatory for implants, and we are also interested to follow the costs, because all those high-value devices as well as drugs are billed directly to the patient and not included in the hospital bundle. We had a big sponsor for this global project, which was the head of the pharmacy. She just retired, but she was a visionary, she still is a visionary woman, and she was very well known at the hospital. She was on the board of directors, so it was really an asset to have her as a sponsor. What took much longer was convincing the top management. That took 2 years. At the end, our CEO agreed that we had to become a full GS1 hospital, but we are not still there, trying to. Just to show you about what are the quantities. So here I have the latest figures of the 2 hospitals. When I say we have about the same activities, it's mostly in the way of the containers, and that's the part which is the most labor intensive, because you have to repack the containers. So see, we are about 16,000 about a year. The individual instruments for the wards, the biggest part is for the stomatology department. So what do we have? That's the situation we are about now. I've gone a bit further, but I'll show you afterwards. All medical devices, here put implantable medical devices, but when we have new instruments, it is the same, go through the pharmacy, and for the implantable medical devices, afterwards to the operating theater, for the instruments to the sterilization unit. So they are registered in the system there. Concerning the instruments, once they have been used in the operating theater, you have the classic flow through the sterilization unit, pre-cleaning, cleaning, packaging, and that's where we'll see the importance of engraving the instruments is shown, sterilization, and afterwards going back to the operating theater. What were the ideas which we considered before beginning the project? And that was our choice. For marking, we had to choose, we had different alternatives. There was RFID, data matrix. At that time, there were microdot couldn't be envisaged because we couldn't have the number of characters we wanted. So we choose the most pragmatic system, that's the data matrix, because of the ease of lather marking the existing or buying new branded instruments. The cost, which is budget, is always a problem. And we had software which enabled that kind of traceability with data matrix. And afterwards, what code were we going to engrave? Nobody knew very much about GS1 in our hospital. had been working with them, so I asked their help, and our AMO really helped me convince them, and because we decided that engraving was not the business of the sterilization operators, and that afterwards we wanted to buy all our new instruments already marked by the supplier, and we had one supplier in France, engraving with GS1, and all that helped us choose that. And after, we had also a beginning of the global view of what we wanted to do in traceability. So it became evident that GS1 was the standard we had to use. So I'll show you 3 steps of this implementation. The first one, which was our first choice, which was laser engraving for the operating theater instruments, and for reasonable cost, we choose at that time InfoDot, which are small tags you stick on the instruments, which data matrix sort of number, but it was not a GS1, but we didn't have the budget and to go for all the instruments at that time and mark them by laser engraving. So what was the challenge? That logistics, because you have we could tag per week about 360 instruments. That was depending on the supplier capacity and also on the number of instruments we could send by week, because it took about a week to go through the process. And it's quite easy when you have some containers you use a lot because you have a lot of them. But as you have engraved those, afterwards you have all the other instruments, and of course when you have one set, the time you send it to be engraved, you need it at the only time of the year you need it, but we had to have it back before engraving. So logistics were a real challenge. So all the instruments were engraved in the under responsibility. We wanted to go simple, so we didn't go back to saying we will have one guillotine for the scissor of that type by that supplier. We just wanted to say we want to be able to read the instruments. So we had one guillotine plus a serial number. And the link with the article number was done in the IT system. I must say that on the second phase we created a new guillotine because as we changed subcontractor we wanted to know which one has been engraved by one subcontractor and which instruments have been engraved by the other one. At the level of the packaging unit, which is mostly the container, each packaging unit had a own supply code, which is at that time was not always a guillotine, but was an article number, and is labeled with a unique number for each sterilization process. You have the link between the box and the process through the label. The link at the instrument level is done in the packaging area, so that at that point we link the instrument to the container. In the other areas of the sterilization, traceability is done at the level of the packaging unit. And in the operating theater, the link is also done at the packaging unit and the level of the container. We are not reading the instruments one by one during the procedure. So we have a traceability from instrument to container, container to process, and container to the patient. And through our IT systems, we have the link with the surgery procedure number. We also know who worked on at each step of the process in the sterilization unit. So we have by that way a full link: patient, container, instrument, and process. I hope it will work. I have a short video, I think that speaks by itself, showing how it works in our sterilization. On top you have the link to the full video on YouTube, it's a video which has been done with the help of GS1. So I'm going to launch it. If you have no sound, it's in French. The English is in the subtitle. Sorry.
Pour assurer le processus de traçabilité unitaire des instruments, l'agent scanne un code à barre de l'étape de conditionnement s'identifie. L'agent scanne ensuite le code Datamatrix sur chaque instrument. Le système enregistre la présence de l'instrument dans la boîte avec son code et son numéro de série. Cette opération permet de s'assurer que le bon instrument est affecté à la bonne boîte et que celle-ci est complète. Ceci permet également de faire le lien avec le dossier médical du patient. L'une des raisons du choix des standards GS1 par l'hôpital est de pouvoir suivre l'instrument quel que soit son statut, la boîte dans laquelle il se trouve, de suivre les changements d'affectation en cas de réparation, de maintenance, voire même de prêt à un autre établissement.
Alors, la traçabilité à l'instrument ne nous a pas permis un gain significatif de temps au niveau du processus même de la stérilisation. En revanche, on a noté un gain significatif en termes de non-conformité, puisque nous avons un taux de 10% de non-conformité dans les boîtes opératoires à 0%. On est capable de retrouver si un jour il y a un souci, quel instrument a été utilisé pour quelle intervention.
par exemple, cet instrument n'appartient pas à la boîte, encore plus calme. Voilà, ça marque qu'il n'appartient pas au plateau.
On peut parler de gain en termes de coût, puisque une boîte conforme, donc une boîte dans laquelle il ne manque pas d'instruments, ça évite donc aux chirurgiens de devoir ouvrir des boîtes supplémentaires.
Okay, so you have the link if you want to go to see the full video. I'll go now to the second step, which has been running from mid-2012 to mid-last year. A new subcontractor appeared on the French market, on the European market. And the idea was different. The engraving is done in the sterilization unit by the subcontractor employees. And a new technology also appeared, which was microdots, new technology, enabling to engrave GS1 codes on very small size data matrix. So they came in our sterilization unit with one laser and one microdot machines, because there is a choice in the technology depending on the alloy of the instrument, and they began engraving. As it was very easy, at that time we decided that all our instruments, they be for the operating theater or be for the wards, would be engraved. And as contracted thing for the new hospital began, all the outside hospital instruments became engraved, but with the other hospital GS1 number, GS1 prefix. So at each time we were able to know if one instrument was from Robert Ballanger or from hospital number 2. And this time, instead of being a challenge, logistics became a benefit, because as you can see that on the screen, you do your pre-cleaning, your cleaning, your instruments go directly to cleaning, from cleaning to engraving. They are engraved, they are registered in the IT system, go back to cleaning, and go packaging in the normal process. So there is very much time lapse for the engraving of the instruments. And really, we finished marking our instruments, and we marked the other hospital instruments in not even 1 year. The third step, which is now that we find that 100% of our instruments on stock are engraved, so no need to keep the subcontractor in our hospital. We need some data matrix, we need some marking still for one-off data matrix, mostly for instruments used daily. I'm thinking of cesarean section containers, things instruments we use a lot. And for new instruments, if they are not engraved by the supplier. So what we have been doing is buying the dot engraving machine, training. The subcontractor trained 3 sterilization operator, and we have a contract that if needed, they come to do some laser engraving on site. but really what we hope is to only engrave the one-off data matrix, and that we will get all our new instruments already marked. For that, we have been putting for, I don't know, about 3 years now, 4 years, GS1 marking. We have been included it in the bid to tender for the instruments. We had no problems having response for answers for the operating room quality instruments, but we had less answer for the lesser quality. We have less supplies with that type of quality who engrave the instruments. But we hope that it will go further on. We have a remaining challenge because at the beginning I told you that the legislation was for hospital-owned or loaned instruments. And our remaining challenge, and I think it's the same in a lot of countries, is all what grant ancillaries on loan. No engraving is done by the suppliers. I think we need the health providers needs to unite themselves and have really a common request towards the suppliers to ask for engraved marked instruments. I really think that UDI legislation will help, and I'm even more convinced today, because yesterday I was speaking with other colleagues in MedTech conference, and I had some suppliers for instruments on loan who were very, very interested because they feel now concerned by UDI legislation, and they really wanted to know how we did it. So I hope it will come to that, as it come to have more and more suppliers being able to respond. Business benefits. We began that project really focused on patient security and on traceability. And we found that we were able to optimize our production process and to have something which surprised me, I must say, a return on investment for around 24 weeks, so 6-7 months. Why? As it was said in the video, because we had a decrease in non-conformance, so a decrease of cost per box per surgical procedure, when you don't have to open 2, 3, 4 boxes because there are some instruments missing. In the first one you had opened, you don't have to re-sterilize them. And mostly because we do not need to have operating theater nurses coming from the operating theater to pack the boxes. Because as you've seen, we have a bill of material for each box, and you have to scan the instruments before putting them in the container, and you cannot close a container if it is not complete. So it's a big help, and now we are able to employ people with much less qualifications than operating theater nurses, and they cost a lot less. And also, as we need those OT nurses in the operating room and not elsewhere, it's a very good thing. So the biggest benefit was in people, human resources cost. It takes, I must say, don't say that people, you can't just put them in the sterilization unit. It takes about 6 months of training to have a fully trained sterilization operator who can do packaging for a big number of procedures. We always a question you have in mind when you are running a project like that is how will people accept those new technologies, what amount of change management will it take. And I must say we were very lucky. We had the global sponsorship by the head of the pharmacy, who is also responsible for the sterilization department. But inside the sterilization department, we had a great sponsorship by the pharmacist itself, which was in charge of it. He had no prior knowledge of GS1, but really had the will to learn, to understand. He became a very strong project leader, and he really helped convince the top management, with not on the part of engraving, but on the part of using GS1. And he was recognized as a team leader by his operators. We also, we were in full change, because we just had a newly refurbished sterilization unit. The operators had participated in the new design, the new organization, they had chosen the colors, and so everybody was beginning working in a new environment, which was nice. It's a young team, which they were all used to scanning. You know, people were scanning their ID at each step of the process. They were scanning the containers, or scanning anything else. You know, they didn't mind. We kept them informed. We asked them to participate since the beginning of the project. And also, and that's true, they were proud of being among the first to implement such a project in France. And really, there were immediate acceptance, there was some enthusiasm. We had a lot of visits. They were always very pleased to have people and to show what they were doing. And really, it was really a pleasure. What were the OK implementation challenges? At first, we had only one supplier, and monopolistic situation are not always easy to live with. Something I must tell, and where you must be very careful when having such a project, is scanners are one of the biggest challenge when you do that. Especially when you read very small data matrix. Even if you don't, you know, engrave the smallest size possible, we try to optimize the size of the data matrix. We're not going to make very small data matrix when it's not needed. But really, you have to be very, very careful when, and we spoke with our other sterilization units, that's one of the big challenge. When you have a good scanner, processing time is not significantly different from what we were doing before. It can be lower for some, on some procedures we found that it was a bit lower. The other challenge, but I think it in all the hospitals, for all the products, it's the interoperability with the IT process. For only our process, you know, it's from pharmacy to sterilization department to operating theater and going to the medical record, we have 4 systems. We have pharma in the pharmacy department, that management of drugs and medical devices and electronic prescription. Process management and traceability in the sterilization department is done by TDOC. We had another system in the operating theater for its management and traceability. And we have still one other, that's our main IT system, which is Mackesson for the patient medical record, but it's for a lot of other things in the hospital too. So see, you have the interface, you have the synchronization. For the operating theater, we had to enter the reference, the nearly 2,000 references by hand. So it's really a challenge. So I think the challenge all health providers have. What's going next? We are going on with our project, as I say, the first slide. So now it's tracing the implants and manage the operating theater stock. At the same time, we have now implemented a warehouse management system in our sterile medical device warehouse. We think we are going to implement it in the sterilization unit and in the operating room, so the pharmacy will manage the entire stock. And we have been testing automated dispensing cabinets in the operating room, and we would like to make the link between the small stocks you have in your operating theater, make the link from those stocks with the automated dispensing cabinets, so we can have automatic refurbishment and go on with traceability. So that's where we are going. On your left, you have the sterilization unit and the process we have seen. And in the operating room, we want to have the full traceability with the implants, link with the IT prescription. IT prescription is implemented in our hospital, and link with the direct link with the patient record. The IT patient record is being implemented in our hospital. The implementation in process, we have about, I would say, 80% of the wards which are implemented. We are now implementing the nurse, also begin implementing the IT nurse record. But for the implants and the other medical devices, we are depending on the suppliers and on the individual identification of each device. But that's the UDI project. So thank you very much. I think I'm perhaps a bit early, but if you have questions, I'll happily and try to answer them.
Frederique, thank you so much for a very comprehensive presentation. We actually have one comment which comes from Alicia Duval. She had to leave the call, so she says, please send my congratulations to Frederique. Very well done, and keep up the good work. So
Thank you.
let me just remind the attendees, you can post your questions to the sidebar. You will see a drop-down section that says questions. But I have a few that I can ask until we get some others from our members. So the first one, Frederique, you began marking the boxes first. How long was it before you moved to marking the individual instruments?
No, the marking, the box at the level of the GTIN of the box, which is that article number, that was, we didn't do anything. What was part of the process was the label on the boxes. That has always been part of the process. Traceability of the box has always been the part of the process. I think we have been for more than 8 years in that hospital. The boxes has always been marked. We went, I think the instrument traceability was really the project the pharmacist had just after opening his new sterilization unit. For him, it was really, they were going on a new organization. We had the opportunity, the legislation was there, and it was just, I think it's also what we have always said, that's a characteristic of hospitals that's very much rely on the will, the enthusiasm of people, of team. And I think in my hospital we had that environment. And with a little pushing, with we were very much helped by OMO Valérie Marchand. People just went on and it proved it worked. Really, I think I've been very lucky in that.
Thank you, Frederique. We have more congratulations from one of our attendees. Juste un grand bravo.
Merci.
Apologies for my accent. Okay, so you mentioned some of the challenges you faced. What do you think was the biggest challenge, and how did you overcome it?
If I think for us, for the teams, the biggest challenge, and it's still a challenge because it's changing, is convincing our CEO and the administrative levels of the interest of those projects. The problem, I don't know in other countries, but the problem in France, they are changing every 3 or 4 years. So you always have to go back to convince them. You know, you have just finished convincing, saying your CEO saying, yes, we are going to be a GS1 hospital. Then 1 year later, he leaves for another hospital and you have a new board of directors. That's the technical challenge. I think the biggest technical challenge is the scanner. and the IT system, that's one thing. But at the level of engraving, reading, and if you stay in the sterilization unit, the biggest technical challenge is the scanners. That's real. But the biggest challenge of having such project in the hospitals is just going on and having the high level administrative people saying yes and we'll go on. So it's always having presentation, having your MOs and helping you, but also finding the right sponsors at the medical level to help you, because if you have the head of unit, then you have the head of pharmacy. I had the head of the neurology ward. I had the head of the intensive care and emergency. Those people were supporting me and supporting the teams and the projects. So we could then listen to go upstairs and say that was very important for the hospital.
Muted.
We are still,
Unmuted.
having to do it because people at top are changing often. More questions?
Sorry, Frederic, I unmuted myself. I think that is a very common issue in all types of organisations. You get your senior leadership team supporting you and sponsoring you, and then one of them or a number of them change. So we quite often hear that is an issue. On the other side, what was the easiest thing for you to achieve during the implementation?
I think something I wasn't ready for. It was change management at operational level. Adhesion, and I was very, very surprised as how all the people were going to work with it just went on with the project and say yes, and wanted to go on and to go further on, and everybody just running along. And that was I think I was very surprised that it was so easy, and it's very nice when people are pleased to go on with the project, and they sell it to even at operator level, they sell it to the rest of the people.
That's enormously refreshing to hear that. What do you know why they were so enthusiastic?
I think they were part of the project since the beginning. We had, and we still have, a very good management in the sterilization unit. There is, even in the difficulties, they are very united. There's it's good human resource management. Perhaps they are quite young, they are not set in their ways, which can happen when we get older. I can say it my side. And I think there was a sense of pride. Yes, that's it. There was a sense of pride. Perhaps we helped it. We are a very open hospital, and you know that if people want to come and see and visit, we are very happy to welcome everybody. So having people coming to see and being perhaps in the first, and everything went with that, and really and they are still and they are proud of their work.
Yes, I echo your comments. I think the younger they are, the easier it is to adopt. Looking at the project, you've undertaken reprocessing for another hospital. I'm assuming due to your success in your implementation. Are there other French hospitals who have or are planning to implement your process in their hospitals?
Oh, that's in France. It has been yes. It has been for a long time due to our think about the unique legislation on instrument traceability to the last 5 patients. The more and more we go, they say we must have the instrument engraved. We are also getting more and more, central sterilization unit, to which several hospitals send their instruments. So engraving is really becoming now quite usual in France. I think the challenge, and that perhaps will change with UDI, is getting the right standard on the instruments. People have been so much used to have their own part numbers, that they tend to go that way. But there have been a lot of work by GS1, and also there have been some decision at the level of university hospitals to work with GS1 on all the supply chain and everything, that people are now going to adopt that type of standard. I think that the fact they will be obliged to manage UDI where because we are very much linked with the traceability of implantable medical devices and the link with the operating theater, that GS1 will come that time also a standard. It's very clear that also asking for GS1 marked instruments in bid to tenders is becoming very common. But the big when we discuss with our colleagues, the big problem is the instruments on loan, which still are not marked.
Right.
And in some hospitals they are very widely used.
Right. And that's an area that you're going to focus on.
Yeah, but I think due to the questions I had yesterday when we were speaking about UDI, the suppliers are becoming very alert on that, because they are saying it's coming very quickly, we must do something.
Okay, we have a couple of other questions coming in. Do you find that having 4 different IT systems for different traceability parts is an issue?
Yes, it is. I'm dreaming of someday of having something more integrated. Really, I think that's what one of our nightmare for everything in the hospital. The traceability and patient record. That's a very big issue. I don't know how it will be answered, and still hoping some hospital somewhere will tell me he has a nice solution. I would love to see that.
again, we quite often hear that the interoperability of IT systems is a common challenge. I've got two questions here, but I think they're interlinked. So the first one is, does the hospital intend to use GS1 standards for other purposes? And then a related question might be, what about the traceability of medicines?
Yes, they are related. Yes, we are using GS1 standards, for instance, for when we open our new warehouse with our warehouse management system. We use our GS1 standards to identify all our rolling, containers, rolling stock, in where we stock our medical devices when we deliver them to the wards, and we have the link from the devices to the containers, to the rolling containers, to the ward, done through GS1 standards. Concerning medicine drugs, we have the same problems. Alors, at the moment, we are not doing our reception by scanning HPACs. I think perhaps we will do it. I have colleagues doing that. What we want to do, as I think everybody wants to do in a hospital, is have to have a traceability at bedside. We have everything because we have the IT system. We have IT prescription and administration. We have very nice pieces of equipment with rolling PCs, special for hospitals and everything. But the problem is we don't have any identification, and not even the GTIN, at the level below each, which is the size, what we call that in GS1, because we have GS1 standards at the level of the trade unit, which is the box, but afterwards when we go down, we don't have anything, and we don't think that the job of our pharmacy is to relabel all the medicines. Furthermore, as we have put IT prescription, our pharmacists are validating all the prescription before they can be administered. So we are not going to take some evaluated pharmacist time to do logistics. So really, I think that the lobbying and that's what hospital pharmacists all over the world must unite, is to have level below each identification, so we can really go to full traceability at patient bedside.
Interestingly,
Janice knows me.
Interesting, Frederique. My final question was going to be to you, and I think you're just beginning to allude to it. In 5 or 10 years' time, what's your vision for hospitals in France or indeed beyond in relation to GS1 standards?
I really think we can't go without them and without going to full traceability. In France, first, I know, so I think we had, for medical devices, we are perhaps ahead of some other countries because we had the legislation, and also because medical devices are under the responsibility of the pharmacist. So they are as concerned as that by drugs. More and more hospitals are wanted to go towards traceability, towards at bedside, and bedside scanning is people are really looking towards that. What I see is, I think all over the world, people, when we speak with our colleagues in hospitals, we are all tending toward the same goals. We are all working under budget constraints. We are not going to be able, and I think that our next webinar, that will be also very well said, because that they are very well known about that. We are not going to take the place of the suppliers, and the suppliers have also a responsibility in patient security, and that can be only achieved if we have bedside scanning, scanning in the operating rooms, and like that. We all had, and I have some in my mind, some accidents and some deathly accidents which happened due to human error, which can always be there, and could have been averted if we have only used GS1 standards. And when with babies or infant deaths we are speaking of, I think we are all wanted to go toward the same goal.
Absolutely.
But it is, I think it is, I'm really seeing it, a bit expanding now. You have,
Yes.
you have the little nucleus, but I found that it's not the Big Bang, but the nucleus is expanding. I think the momentum is getting it.
Thank you, Frederic. I think your last statements there are very encouraging. Thank you so much for presenting your case study and for responding to the questions. As I said, this is recorded, and so people can listen to it again. And we will be sending out information to you about our following webinars. And shortly after this call, we will send you a survey. So my thanks very much to Frederic again, and I hope you've enjoyed the webinar and hope to speak with you next month. Thank you, everybody. The call is finished.